Okay, so you're decoding these encrypted transmissions. When you decode it, what did you then do with it?
Oh, they were sent out to officers in the field, U.S. officers in the field.
Right.
And they could be in the Navy, or they could be in the Navy or naval installations or military installations, and they would do what they had to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
If they were sending some troops, go see if they could intercept those troops before they arrived at their certain place.
Okay. Did you know what you would just decode it, but could you read in what you were decoding they're sending troops to something? Or you couldn't actually read it?
We couldn't get that, but the other people, because we were actually working with the code books themselves.
Got it. Okay.
The people that would be doing the decoding, they would get the message and they would do the coding.
So you would do this 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, or how would it work?
Well, usually had 3 shifts.
Okay.
And as I say, we were at these racetracks, and that's when there was 4 people to a tent. And then they have this whole signal intelligence operation, all in this here racetrack.
Right. So sitting in the racetrack is the racetrack isn't in operation this entire time,
oh,
right?
Of course not.
No. So you're there in a 4-man tent for years? 2 years you lived in a tent?
Yeah.
Would you get days off?
Oh yeah, you would get some time off, and you could go. Since we were in Brisbane, we could go outside the racetrack and catch a tram and take it down to downtown Brisbane if you wanted to see a movie or something like that.
Were there girls around?
I wasn't got involved with girls at that time.
It's okay. You can admit it,
Well, there were. I mean, they would have dances and things like that, but I'm not much into dancing.
Did they warn you about girls could approach? Because obviously you guys have important information. Did the enemy try to infiltrate in any way, or is that more of a German thing?
No, you didn't wear any insignia that they wouldn't know who you were. You were just a GI. There were other GIs come there.
Okay.
We weren't the only GIs in Australia. A lot of people, when they first come over too, went to Australia first. They did some additional training, and then they were shipped out.
Did combat troops come through there, or were they all intelligence kind of people?
All kinds of troops.
Okay.
All kinds of soldiers and naval people came in. Because Brisbane was when General MacArthur had his headquarters.
Okay.
You would see him when he comes into his limousine.
Yeah.
Everybody's at their best behavior because if he didn't like what you were doing, you would be back in the States or you would be out of the Army. Everybody was afraid of General MacArthur.
Did he ever come and inspect you guys?
No, not personally.
Not directly. So back to the fun. So you would take a ride into town. You might go to a movie, go out to dinner. I mean, you couldn't have had a lot of money, right?
No, because you would be paid. But I took out a war bond. I sent it home, and my mother and them made cash for all those bonds. Over $25 would come out of your monthly pay.
Okay.
So I didn't have a hell of a lot of money. But they had a lot of USO camps and stuff like this, where you could see some entertainment, or you could get a meal there. Red Cross would be sponsoring some of these mess halls and things like this, where you could eat and things like that while you were in town.
Did you see any entertainers come through, like USO entertainers? Like it's before Bob Hope, of course, or was it? But anybody famous came through, or just...
Not to visit our location, no.
Okay.
They would be more up in New Guinea or some of these Guadalcanal, those places. They would go to those areas.
All right.
Because those are the guys who were doing the actual fighting.
Right. Did you have any sense of how the war was going? Like Stars and Stripes magazine or newspaper would come out? Or?
You would be informed as to how things would, with a daily sheet of paper that they would, how the war was going, and you'd know if there were any battles going on and things like that.
Okay. But Did you have this sense that we were winning? Just the fact that we're making progress through the Pacific? Is that what told you?
Well, you know that you were making good progress, especially with Guadalcanal, that the first big battle there. That they damaged the Japanese. That stopped them from approaching any further to Australia.
Right.
So that was a great benefit for the United States, and that's where my brother's ship happened to be sunk in the Battle of Guadalcanal.
Did you find out about him soon, or was it until...
Right. Well, of course, I found out from letters back and forth because my mother was informed.
Oh.
Then when they would communicate by letters, sending you letters back and forth.
Mm.
And my mother thought he originally was sent to a hospital in New Zealand. And my mother says, why don't you go to visit him? Without realizing that was 1,500 miles away.
Right, across the ocean.
Yes, across the ocean besides that.
Yeah. Okay. Did you know about big things that happened, the Battle of Midway? Like, did you guys know about that?
Well, you would be informed of any big battles that were going on.
Did you know about Yamamoto's plane being shot down, or not his plane? I thought we broke a code and shot down the Admiral Yamamoto's plane.
We would be informed of how the war was going.
Okay.
You know, by radio or newspaper.
Yeah.
We did have newspapers in Australia too, so you could read what was going on, pick up a local newspaper, and you'd be informed what's going on in Australia.
All right, let me break this.